Hello, my name is Götz Schneider-Rothhaar. I'm partner at SKW Schwarz in Frankfurt and head of the music practice group. So our topic today is esports meets music, and before I introduce my wonderful panelists here, I may give a short introduction to our topic, esport meets music, and why we need a close look to that liaison. Why is the music industry interested in esports? So let's take a look back. It's been a kind of digital revolution where we got rid of vinyl and CD, and now we're doing quite well on Spotify and all the other platforms. We are talking of 22 billion US we earned last year. We have good growth rates, and especially if we take a look at the dominant streaming share that grew like 9%. So music industry means cultural heritage, it means credibility. But even more, or because more young people are not so reachable over the classic distribution channels, we have to look for new partnerships and partners. So the music industry wants to cement its growth rate by appealing to esports and its community. What can music do for esports? Esport is still niche, but a substantial growth rate globally, like 15.9% last year, and we want to get more value to it. So music can be the emotional, the creative product, and can help for said long-term credibility also for esports. So it can be, that's what we're going to find out today, be extremely helpful for that. So they meet somewhere in the middle, and both seeking leverage their current dynamics. So let's learn about how that does function with my extreme interesting mixture of panelists, I have to say. And I want to start with you, Alban, who's in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
He's the publisher. He's working for a publisher, head of esports. I have to read this because it's such an impressive CV. Head of esports partnership and business development for Riot Games. You did that in a comparable capacity already for Coca-Cola. That's what I've learned. Mentioning the Coca-Cola Zero partnership with PlayStation, Euro partnership with Riot Games, and now you're doing this for Riot Games with talking about music, and that was impressive. We have to talk about that. 50 people in your music department. So it's sounds, it's noises, but also musicians, theme songs, it's music videos and original music. Then we have Lars Düysen, who should be here as well. Hi, Lars. Hi, how are you doing? Hi, everybody. He's, and I have to look this up here. It's VP, Vice President Brands, Live Licensing, GSA for Sony Music. Started his career as a man at Bertelsmann Music Group, so he's been a label guy, as a product manager and A&R. And heading later the music department at O2. So, and then I think you changed to the brand department. So today you say you're delivering growth to brands like BMW, Mercedes, O2, Vodafone, and just initiated the brand cooperation with the US rapper 21, and Snipes for launch of the PS5. So. And last but not least, lady comes last here, sorry, is Anna Baumann, Executive Vice President of Esports at ReKT Global, that including the esports properties of Rogue and the London Royal Ravens. So it's League of Legends and Call of Duty. And your company is owned by DJ Steve Aoki and the Imagine Dragons and Rudy Gobert, who's an NBA player, and others along that. She's a lawyer, and she's in esports for a while. And Anna, after this long introduction, I'd like to start with you. Your business model comprises, as you say, sports, media, and entertainment as kind of an agency. But you also say you have a unique vision of ReKT Global as a global brand, connecting all these things like music, icons, esports, and all esports properties. So what does that mean, and where does music come in for your brands?
Yes, great question. Thank you very much, Götz. So, looking at our company, ReKT Global is really the parent holding that also serves as an agency in esports, as you said, a media agency with quite some interesting shareholders from music, sports, really celebrities around the world. And this company has a vertical that's solely focused on esports in the team business. So as you said, we own the brand properties Rogue and the London Royal Ravens. This means we run esports teams that compete at the highest level, very comparable to traditional football clubs, with the very difference that we have a media agency in the background that is able to connect our brands with an entertainment angle that usually is unheard of, I would say. So, for example, with our esports brands, we're able to work with all these fantastic music icons, as you said, and produce content that is really entertaining for our fans.
Yeah, so we're still talking a little bit about brands, and you are all obviously all driven by brands. So, Alban, fans don't come to watch banners. That's what you said in an article I read about you, and
it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
As far as I know, they don't come to watch banners.
Yeah, and you're talking about in-game activations. You need strong content that fusion brand and esports. So tell us a little bit about that, and tell us what music is for you in this context.
Yeah, first of all, like, what is a game publisher? A game publisher is historically like a creative department that created games, and a publishing department that give these games to retailers to sell them as a box to players. And Riot Games has been created with an idea, which will be, we're gonna become the most player-centric company in the world by giving players access directly to the game. So the game is called League of Legends. That was the only game of Riot Games for the last 10 years. Since then, we released some few games last year, but it's really like the core of our community. And this is a game that was released only on PC, that was free to play, free to download. You can decide to invest some money to customize your appearance in the game, but you cannot pay to win.
Okay.
And this vision of creating a game that's really by the players, for the players, also initiated a vision of like, how do we want to engage this community deeper than just gaming? And that's where the founders had this vision to have some kind of secondary product or secondary experience beyond the game, such as music.
Okay.
So we have been running the jokes internally that we are a music company that sometimes deliver a game.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later, because that's really very interesting. Lars, hi again, and thank you again for joining us. You told me that, or your company is. Did I already introduce you? No, I didn't. Right, I think. Habe ich, okay. So you're approaching brands for exploitation of your artists or recordings. Your target is the market share. And if you talk about brands, what does that mean?
That means that, as we all know, the brand space is very crowded these days. And since we did like a number of big brand deals over the last 7 years, we had a good recap last year defining our strategy and revamping it. And actually, we came to the conclusion that the biggest contribution that we can deliver as a unit is to contribute in market share growth. So what we do is that we select the partners that we want to work with.
Yeah.
And then we bring our assets that Sony Music provides to the game field, namely data, for example, media activation, creative excellence, and we want to drive the streaming proportion of Sony Music. That's our reason for existence. And of course, it delivers also incremental revenue and profit to our artists and to our core business. But actually, what we do is that we're the opposite of an agency, so to speak, even though we are in a position to buy media and to create content that delivers value to target groups.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's extremely interesting. And so the part of the recorded music and the collaboration with this with the label side seems to be something that could be key to the success also for music and esports. So Alban, again, because you mentioned your as you said, excellent collaboration with Warner Music, I think I remember. So let's talk about that. What does that mean? I mean, and please tell us a little bit about what is going on the music side with all your 50 people. That's what I mentioned in the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean that's the foundation. Like, if you're a game publisher, naturally you need to think about the 5 cents, and like you start to think, okay, when the monsters will interact with the champions in the game, what will be the sound experience behind that? And instead of working with like specialists outside of the company, the founders of Riot decided to internalize this art and science, and more or less what happened is that with passionate people you get excellent work. So they decided to start to compose music and introduce the game with a sound that is more than a sound, with like musical original creation. Then we've started to introduce our champions, our new edition of the game, with trailers supported by these songs. And shortly after, because we had events for our community and our sports, we have been lucky to entertain collaboration with external artists. We share this interesting collaboration with like Rogue, because one of the owners of Rogue is Imagine Dragons. Yeah. And Imagine Dragons collaborated with Riot Games about a very successful song called Warrior, which was played live for the first time at the opening ceremony of the World Championship in Korea. And this is kind of the beginning of, for us, an adventure, which has like this idea that not only sound, not only music anthem around trailers, but actually performance could bring value to the fan experience. And that's where we debuted this series of like collaboration, and also at the end, original track, because the team is nowadays not only celebrating this with like releasing the song, but also composing them. And it went to the last few years with the song of the opening ceremony becoming like a very successful like stream songs, like competing with the most popular song in the world, despite the fact we are just esports. And finally ended up last year with a full album released with 12 songs. That is one of the most successful album of the year, despite the fact that all the artists featured in the album are supposed to be virtual, because they are representing our champions. Of course, they are real artists, and we collaborate with them and the labels and the majors. But the experience for the fans is that the champions are singing, and that's what we are very excited about. Okay, so we'll talk about that later, again, if we talk about revenue. And so, Anna... Do we need to talk about revenue? Come on, it's all about music. It's all about music, right? Yeah, so Anna, perhaps you tell us, your collaboration with labels, is that something... Or you share his view on on the importance of that, and can you describe a little bit how that works in your special, let's say, business model?
Absolutely. I think first looking at esports and understanding what we're really doing is the foundation of understanding why we're putting such an emphasis on collaborations in music as well. Esports, in contrast to traditional sports, lives in the digital space. It is consumed entirely differently by a younger generation that expects to be wildly entertained from every angle possible. So that means when we're talking about content, for example, we're creating for partners, or we're simply creating to shine a highlight on our brands, that this content, of course, gets much better when we work together with labels, with artists that are connected to the brand. In fact, it is also quite interesting for some artists out there to brand themselves as being connected to a certain space. So Imagine Dragons was being brought up. I think everybody who plays League of Legends adores them for the great songs they have given us, and of course for us in Rogue to utilize that is brilliant and a lot of fun. Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, and then we have to, if we talk about music, we have to talk about the digital music services like Spotify. So, Lars, perhaps you can contribute to that. Streaming media is key, right, for all your activities, and
Is Spotify for you also, because we talk about brands, putting them in the central of all your activities, at least to a certain extent. So is Spotify a promotion tool for esports and or for your activities and your brands? And is this also, I will ask you then, Alban, also for esports, a promotion tool?
So you're asking me now, is esports a promotion tool or is Spotify a promotion tool?
Yeah, Spotify. We're talking about Spotify now. So I would start out and ask if this is a promotion tool for your brands. So how do you use this? That's what I wanted to find out with you.
Well, it's definitely for our core business, as we all know. I mean, it's the major distribution platform. It's the way that we connect our artists to the fans nowadays. And not only Spotify, of course, let's talk about Apple Music as well, and let's talk about YouTube Music. So everything's digital, everything's on streaming. Then, as a next layer, I think, of course, there are platforms like Spotify, but not limited to Spotify. You can think of the likes of TikTok, for example, which is as important to us nowadays, and maybe a little bit more open in terms of including brands. Of course, there is opportunity to work with brands on Spotify, at least in their ad-funded service and their premium service. As we know, there's not a lot of advertising. And Spotify does their brand deals, of course, and they know how to work with brands and leverage it to the maximum. It's absolutely adorable how they work with brands. But for us, I'd say platforms like TikTok are even more important in terms of connecting fans and brands via music.
Okay. So are music subscribers more likely to identify with esports? Is that true? So is that another kind of fusion or kind of a interesting liaison?
I think it's just a way of consuming content. That's the way I think nowadays entertainment is not acquired or owned. It's like rented or shared or subscribed to. So I don't think it's that true to esports or Spotify. It's true to this way of this generation to consume content. But I wanna go back to your previous question on partnership and promotion. It's interesting because, historically we have been using music as a way to enhance the liquidity of our content online because it brings another level of connection with fans. And I was very excited to see that we also have been able to promote music. So last year we partnered with Warner Music. And what we did is that a very kind of an old model, we selected a music per week and we have featured an artist and we have been able to promote like in the old days of radio promotion, like selecting the music of the week, introducing the music to the fans. And we have been super happy to see that this is working. Every week we see, like on YouTube, we see the likes and the comments of people that discovered the artist thanks to the show. Every week we see like double-digit growth on Spotify on the artist of the week thanks to the show.
Okay.
And for us, it's kind of like also
and you have incredible numbers, right, on Spotify then?
Spotify decided to sponsor League of Legends. So it's kind of a very particular case where a platform sponsor a show so that there's a synergy. We also host all our content related to music and podcast on the Spotify channel. So there's a very interesting collaboration there for sure.
Okay. And in general, we have to talk about live music and live events as well because
exciting.
It's exciting, and as I learned, it is able to collect some revenue as well for all that are involved. Anna, if you go into a deal or if you go into as an agency, if you want to, if you asked from a certain brand to develop something, or how do you think live events with music? What role does that play, and how does it come in there?
Well, I think first off, we already have quite a steep learning curve in esports, looking at live events involving music, what works and what doesn't work. So one thing that seems particularly important to esports is that the fans are able to connect with the type of music they're seeing on stage, that the artist is connected to what they're passionate about as well. I mean, there are great examples where it worked masterfully, and there are terrible examples. I think, for example, Riot is doing such a fantastic job every time with Worlds, bringing the great artists on stage, and it is this great feeling as a participant that you're getting kind of a Super Bowl show. You get the show of the players playing, and you also get the music, and it goes hand in hand. And I think this is usually what brands are looking for as well when they're talking to us, and when it's about how can we put this together. However, I also think in esports you have ways of being incredibly creative. So live events, we all love them. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not possible to have these huge live events. So creative solutions are really what we sometimes need to come up with. And what we did, for example, together with Riot, is that when we had the summer finals, which is usually live, we offered a show where we worked with Steve Aoki playing a set online, which was very successfully. And later on, Riot also brought in Offenbach. So there are even ways in times like this where you can embrace the concept of a show, even if it's only online.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that we talk about Offenbach, the DJ duos, not the old Offenbach, just to make it clear.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, it's. I wanted to ask you one thing when we talked about this in preparation of this. What's so interesting, because you have these investors behind you, Anna. So, how does that influence that whole story of music in your business? I mean, it has to, right? So, but take us a little bit as far as you are allowed to, but take us with you to understand what Imagine Dragons mean for you and for all this concept.
It is very influential for every media strategy, quite honestly, we put in front of potential partners, just because our influencers, our music superstars, they are not in there just to make money. They were basically selected because they're also very passionate about gaming themselves. All of them play the games themselves in which our players compete. So, for example, Imagine Dragons, they're very passionate about League of Legends. So, fortunately, currently we're winning, but when we're losing, you can be assured that we get a message from them, hey, what's going on? And the same, for others. But with regards to content and how we put together the storytelling for our brands, it just means that our investors are vividly involved. So last year we did content where Nicky Romero came by our team office in Berlin, and we produced content around that, where really there is a much closer and actually authentic relationship between the teams and our investors, which is very exciting to tell.
Absolutely, yeah. So,
if I may interrupt you, I think it's crucial.
Yeah.
When you are running a league with various teams, what you want is various diversity of storytelling.
Yeah, sure.
We have historical esports founders like the G2, the Fnatic, the SK. We have the new sports like Miami Heat with Misfit or Schalke 04 also in the league. It's interesting to see sports organization that goes into esports.
Absolutely.
Riot brings a unique proposition with this vibration of music inside the organization. And the way they express their brand and the way they contribute to the entertainment of the league is very particular because of that. So for sure, this brings to them a very particular approach.
Thank you. We have one question from one of our, from the people outside there. And it's interesting to see I'll read the question. It says, what role does music have to play when it comes to existing or potential new brand partners? That could be interesting for all of you, right? This question, we already talked a little bit about it, but the question is still very, very interesting. So Lars, what would you say, or what you already said, or what would you say specifically to that question? How you said you approach, in your particular case, you approach the brands. How does that work? What is your daily, let's say, your daily life with that kind of approach?
Yes, and I'll try to answer the question at the same time. So the way that we approach it is that we, of course, present ourselves as part of the Sony core. I mean, definitely we're Sony Music, but please not forget, that we are very closely connected, for example, to our sister company, like PlayStation, for example. So when we put ourselves in front of potential partners, we present ourselves as part of the Sony Corp, and then, like I said, present the assets that Sony provides us to understand youth culture and data behind it, and to really analyze, what's the target audience that our potential partner wants to resonate with. And that's the first step that we really do. And that's everything that we tell them is about, like I said, our global consumer segmentation. It's about our big data streaming tools, so the data that we get on a daily basis from the streaming platforms, but also and innovation that we drive, and that starts with Alexa skills that we're able to program with our artists. But we just, for example, presented a case at CES the other day where we brought virtual concerts to the next level, namely Madison Beer performing in a virtual Sony hall that was rendered on the same engine that Fortnite is produced and programmed, for example. So that's the capability that we present to partners first, and then secondly, it's about media activation. So if we understand, for example, like a partner like Mercedes or Smart, the target group that they want to resonate with and the story that they want to bring across the line, we think about naturally the platforms that our target group is acting on, for example, TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat, whatever you want to think about. And then thirdly, we look at the Sony Music product roadmap. So we think if this is the target group and this is the activation plan and potential behind it, what artists that we are about to release and that music can connect the fans and the brand and the audience could play in that constellation, and also which artists would be willing to sit down, because I think we were talking about authenticity here a lot as well between the lines, and what artists would be willing to sit down with a brand and really think beyond the actual briefing and not acting as a pure testimonial, but use the platform like a gaming experience, for example, or a video challenge or innovation piece. So this is how we work, and music is always the glue, and music is always data for us and our artists to get us going every day, because as we were saying a couple of times in the last few minutes, it's about new and modern and innovative ways of promoting content in our artists with brand.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you already talked about it. So there was the perfect mentioning the big data. I wanted to learn from all of you, and you already told us you are collecting your own data that you're using. How are you, Alban, and also Anna, perhaps afterwards? Where is your data coming from? How important is the data collected from the service providers? How do you, and I will ask Anna because she's a lawyer, so she has to tell me how, I hope that's not too sensible, if the GDPR, I know it is sensible, so how you get influenced or affected by that. Okay, let's start with you, Alban. So where's your data coming from?
I'm scared now because you said it's risky. I would say, first of all, we have the best source of data because the players are playing our game every day. So we are able to see how they react to any creativity, innovation in the game, by seeing how much they use the champions, if it's balanced or not, if a new mode is taken over by the players or not. And that's our first source of information, the direct interaction with players. And we see the same on everything. Like we broadcast our show on streaming platforms that have forums where people react. And we can tell that every time we play the music from Warner Music, the new artist, they react positively, they discover the lyrics, they start to play with it. And that reaction is the first thing for us. Having said that, we're not data-driven. I think we are data-informed. We still believe that we need to try things, we need to fail sometime to learn better things to do. And we will not let ourselves blocked by the data if we think that something should be tried.
Okay. Anna? What do you?
I think Alban already gave the perfect answer. It's very similar for us, at least when we're looking at our brand properties, because we're at the forefront of a new entertainment. And even when sometimes, the numbers might not add up just because we're trying new things, that doesn't hold us back, because looking at all the new platforms we're encountering, as we've heard, TikTok, other, very short form content platforms. It is important to just try things out and then see how fans react, and then jump, on certain trains and maybe, hold off on others. So this is really how we see it. It's data informed, not data driven. That's really the best answer you can give here for entertainment.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. We have another question from our audience here. And yeah, I told you, Alban, we have to talk about figures and revenues. Right. It's, yeah, everyone wants to learn about that. Even we want. Can you discuss how the artists or labels are compensated when they are featured? So I will think that it makes sense to start with you, Alban. So
thanks for the gifts.
Sorry?
Thanks. I mean, it depends. It depends. Well, we compose all music. So this music we don't need to compensate because we produce ourselves. We work with Warner Music, and we don't manage the relationship between Warner Music and the artists. What we know is that we promote them, and we try to build this in a structured way to help the artists to grow in a moment where they're in promotion. So I can tell that this is not something we pay for, I would say. Obviously, there's a lot of interesting conversation about the rights of broadcasts, because all streaming platforms are not super aligned with the music industry. So that's a topic that is very hot at the moment, and we have to be very careful. And finally, there's like all the dimension of like VODs, like when the content leaves online, and how can we clear the content when, for example, we have 18 channels now in 10 languages. Some of them owned by us, some owned by partners that broadcast in local languages. And every Monday morning, I got a call or an email from someone and say, I've been striked, can you help me? And then we need to figure out who owns the right, why this channel was not cleared in the right way so that the content can live online. Yeah. So that's my vision of like monetization and rights online.
And also the collecting societies are somehow involved at a certain point.
Of course,
that's like GVL here in Germany or GEMA. So, perhaps, and Lars, something you can contribute to that, if you are perhaps closer to the artists, and as the label outpost, the compensation of artists. I mean, it's basically within the regular artist agreements and master agreements, probably, right?
I mean, that really comes back, from my perspective, for using esports as a promotion platform. I mean, if you're referring to that model and thinking of our artist Travis Scott, who performed in Fortnite in front of 27 million people, that drives streaming revenue. And of course, we're then in the position after that converted traffic really goes to Apple Music. We just pay them regularly, of course. I mean, so this is a very, very sober model that we're following.
Yes, it's sometimes what I feel is also because as I look on the music industry for the last years, it's a little bit poor sometimes, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about reasonable remuneration for artists, so it's sometimes on the streaming side, digital doesn't earn so much money for the artists. That's for sure. At least you have such a big number of flood of streams. Then that's sometimes a little bit. So why I'm saying that is because if we ask about compensation of the artists or the labels, is something hard to tell. I would say at that stage to really to mention numbers, but I'm coming to those numbers.
I know you're going to keep asking. That's good.
Yeah, that's absolutely. We have to keep on going, especially also when it comes to YouTube and all that other digital exploitation. So, so we're coming into the final third of this panel, and I want to ask you, if in a very general, if I want to bring this to the audience outside there. What is the added value? Really, the added value for all those involved. I mean, you can pick the brands, you can pick the investors, and they all have other numbers in their mind they want to reach with the investment or whatever. What is the added value if I choose, especially the combination between esports and music, for brands, for all the others? If you give a more general final understanding for that, what would you say?
And
how get you approach?
I start. Okay, cool.
You start.
No, I think at the beginning you said that for me, people don't come to the stadium to watch banners, and usually I follow this by, if brands wants to be part of the party, they better bring the champagne. I think music could be the champagne for brands in esports. The crossover of music and esports creates something innovative, creates something that allows the brand to break through and surprise the fans, engage them, and connect them deeply with the brand.
And you said music is the glue.
I think music for brands is a way to extend the reach and the engagement of the content. So when KitKat or Kia works with us to be part of a show, and we create a music anthem with them that celebrates the start of the season, I want the LEC back. You can look on YouTube. People are singing the song for the years to come, and Kia is part of that. And I think it's, that's the champagne of the party for me.
Lars, is there enough space for more brands and sponsors in this entire world?
This entire world, I think, as the future of entertainment is technology driven, I think more and more opportunities will arise, and so I think it's an incredibly interesting time currently, where the whole system evolves, and I don't even dare to imagine where we'll be at in 5 years' time. So there's definitely more space opening up, and maybe also contributing to your previous question. I mean, imagine a computer game, imagine a film, a movie without music. So I mean, music really lifts and really enhances the experience of a game. So at the end of the day, I mean, this makes music itself creates the value and emotionalizes the fan base, and on the back of that, very lucrative deals are being made.
Yeah, that's very good. So you started with our final round, because I wanted to ask, what can we expect from that liaison? What are your plans, Anna, for instance? I mean, you said you want to be a global brand, but concentrating on the topic of music. So what are your plans? If you look in the future for the next 5 years, what Lars already did, where are you seeing yourself?
So with regards to our esports brands, we're definitely seeing ourselves as a traditional football club like, Barcelona or Bayern Munich, but really as a media entertainment company. What does that mean in the context of what we're doing? We're going to keep producing this fantastic content that allows the music artist to really explore a new market and use it as marketing tool on top of what they are doing. I think it was really interesting what Alban mentioned, that when specific songs are promoted, and we see this with our content as well, this gives an overall boost in consumption for a certain type of music when esports fans are exposed to it. So I think we're just going to go deeper and bigger into this topic, and at the same time just gain more fans in esports, because we tell the story with the great music underlined.
Yeah, that's what you all said when we were talking about it, is that you have to think music from the very beginning. With all what you do, with all measures you take in this, music is always there. And people realize it when you look at a movie or whatever, music is just there. And it seems to be like comparable to this situation here. So Alban, your outlook for 5 years, shortly. I mean, this is possible.
If people ask me to think of what esports would be in 5 years, I tell them to go in China, because that's the future of esports for sure. For me in Europe, I would say I'm going to stick to 6 months, and I would be happy if I can predict that.
Okay.
But I would say that for music, I see this summer that we could find an artist from Warner Music that is truly interested into gaming. We're going to collaborate with this artist to first promote his songs to our community, then step by step maybe create an original song with him. That could be one of the anthem of the show. And then we're going to invite him to play live at our final, because thanks God in September, hopefully, we'll be able to have our final live in front of 30,000 people.
We all hope that.
So that's my wish for the future, at least.
Okay, so if I say as kind of a conclusion, or my famous last words in this context is, so both music and esports are already together. They already exist for a long time already. And it's time that we all realize out there that it's that it can be very interesting, or is interesting also for brand partners or whoever is out there to get in contact with all of you. And so we have comparable audiences. We have they are young, they're digital, they are smart, creative, and that's what I've learned, they are brand friendly. So esports is the only entertainment, and that goes out to everyone there, what routinely involves video, music, sports, and will be a crucial asset. I have to read this for cross-marketing and cross-entertainment strategies. So that's probably it. And I thank you all for joining us, and that was very, very interesting. Thank you very much.